The origin of life, 5 questions that change everything. Have you ever looked up at the sky, or simply at a blade of grass, and asked yourself, where do we come from? How did life begin? For many, the answer is chance. A lucky cosmic cocktail, a random chemical accident, an improbable spark that brought life into existence. That's the theory of spontaneous origin. For others, the answer is design, a plan, an invisible architect, a mind that wanted life to exist. But which idea is supported by evidence, not just assumptions? Today, I won't pretend to give you the final answer. Instead, I'll share 5 fundamental questions drawn from the origin of life. 5 questions worth asking. Questions that science alone hasn't been able to resolve. Questions that may change not only how you see the universe, but also how you see yourself. If you're ready to challenge what you thought you knew, stay with me until the end. What you discover may surprise you more than you expect. Question 1. How did life begin? For decades, scientists have tried to explain life's origin in purely natural terms without an intelligent cause. One of the most famous attempts was the Miller-Urey experiment. They mixed gases thought to resemble Earth's early atmosphere, added electric sparks, and managed to produce a few amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, but they were only blocks, lifeless and inert. They never formed a working protein, much less a living cell. There's also the problem of chirality. Living proteins use only left-handed amino acids, but random processes always produce a 50-50 mix of left and right. If even one wrong amino acid slips in, the protein becomes useless. And the atmosphere used in those experiments, we now know it wasn't realistic. When more accurate models are used, organic molecules hardly form at all. After decades of work, countless simulations, and billions of dollars spent, no one has ever produced life spontaneously in a lab. So ask yourself, is it reasonable to believe that something we can't replicate under perfect conditions somehow happened by accident on a wild, primitive planet? Or does it make more sense that behind every complex functioning system, there has always been an intelligent mind? Question 2. Are there truly simple forms of life? Early evolutionists imagined the first cell as a basic blob of jelly. If life began that simply, maybe chance had a shot. But modern science has uncovered the opposite. There is no such thing as a simple life form. Even the smallest bacterium is more advanced than any machine humans have ever built. Inside, it contains power stations, transport systems, defense mechanisms, and precise instructions for every process. Take the bacterial flagellum. It isn't just a random tail, it's a molecular motor with a rotor, a shaft, bearings, and a universal joint. It spins thousands of times per minute. Biochemist Michael Behe described this as irreducible complexity. If you remove just one part, the entire system fails. And if a system doesn't work, natural selection cannot preserve it. How could blind chance assemble such a motor piece by piece when it's useless until it's complete? Even at its smallest, life is a marvel of molecular engineering. Question 3. Where do the instructions come from? At the core of every cell lies DNA. But DNA is not just a chemical, it's a code. Its 4 chemical letters, A, T, C, and G, are arranged in precise sequences that form instructions for building and running every part of a living organism. The information stored in human DNA equals the content of thousands of books. But here's the dilemma. Where does information come from? If we discovered a carved inscription on Mars, no one would say wind and sandstorms made it. We'd assume an intelligent writer. So why not apply the same reasoning to DNA, the most sophisticated code known? There's another paradox. To read DNA, the cell needs proteins and enzymes, yet the instructions to make those proteins and enzymes are stored in DNA. Each requires the other to exist first. It's a closed loop, fully interdependent. How could such a system arise gradually if it cannot function until all parts are in place? Information doesn't appear by accident. It always requires intelligence. Question 4. Do all living things come from one common ancestor? Evolutionary theory rests on the idea of a universal ancestor, a single first cell from which all life descended. But what does the fossil record reveal? If life evolved gradually, the record should be filled with transitional forms. Instead, it's filled with gaps. Consider the Cambrian explosion. In a geologically short period, nearly all major groups of animals appear suddenly, fully formed, with no clear ancestors. It's like walking onto a construction site and seeing modern tools everywhere without any sign of their primitive prototypes. Natural selection can explain small changes like the length of a bird's beak, but can it explain leaps from fish to amphibians, amphibians to reptiles, reptiles to birds? The evidence is fragmentary at best. The astonishing variety of life looks less like a smooth evolutionary ladder and more like a mosaic of distinct, fully formed designs. The primary reason Darwin's theory cannot be considered reliable in its original form is its fundamental scientific incompleteness. Darwin couldn't have known about genetics. He had no way to explain how hereditary traits were passed down from one generation to the next, and even more critically, how the variations on which natural selection was supposed to act came into existence. To address this crucial gap, he proposed hypotheses that later proved incorrect, such as Pangenesis. Without DNA, genes, and mutations, Darwin's theory lacks the basic mechanism that underpins its entire structure, making it, in light of modern science, a pioneering, but no longer a fully valid model. Question 5. Is it reasonable to trust the Bible? Here is the final, crucial question. If chance doesn't explain it all, where do we find a coherent explanation? The Bible is not a science textbook, yet it contains statements that were way ahead of their time. Consider a few examples. Did the physical universe have a beginning? Leading scientists once felt strongly that the answer was no. Now they generally accept that there was a beginning to the universe. The Bible said that clearly all along. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What is the shape of the earth? In ancient times, many people thought that the earth was flat. In the 5th century BCE, Greek scientists suggested that it was a sphere. But long before that, in the 8th century BCE, the Bible writer Isaiah referred to the circle of the earth, using a word that may also be rendered sphere. Isaiah 40:22. There is one who dwells above the circle, or sphere, of the heart. It refers to the water cycle centuries before science confirmed it, and it states that living things reproduce according to their kind, which aligns with what the fossil record shows: clear boundaries between species. The Bible in Job 36:27-28 says, "He draws up the drops of water, they condense into rain from his mist. Then the clouds pour it down, they shower down upon mankind." But the Bible goes deeper than science. It addresses the questions chemistry and biology cannot touch. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? What does the future hold? It doesn't just say life has a creator. It reveals who he is, why he made us, and what his plan for humanity and the earth really is. Far from being outdated, the Bible offers the missing piece of the puzzle, the full picture that fits perfectly with the evidence of design all around us. So what seems more plausible to you? That blind chance assembled systems so advanced we can't even replicate them? Or that behind life's complexity and information lies an intentional design, the work of a superior mind? The choice is yours, but it deserves more than a quick opinion. It deserves deep reflection. In our next discussion, we'll explore an even bigger question. Was life created? Was our planet designed for life? Is the teaching of evolution based solidly on fact? And what impact does that have on our everyday lives? Subscribe to our channel. You'll be surprised at how many answers the Bible can provide. Thank you for staying with me until the end. See you soon.